Jake Paul is still hoping to face UFC welterweight Nate Diaz. The Stockton native is coming off a victory over Tony Ferguson at UFC 279 last month. The headliner was put together on short notice when Khamzat Chimaev failed to make weight for the main event. As a consequence, Cucuy was promoted to the lead versus Diaz. So what are the chances of Jake facing Nate Diaz? Stay tuned for additional information on the subject. To begin, despite his loss to Anderson Silva, Jake Paul would still like to face Nate Diaz. The fan favorite won the improvised main event via fourth-round submission. Diaz's contract with the UFC had ended, and he was free to sign with anybody he wanted. The longtime UFC star declared his intention to pursue boxing in his post-fight interview. The problem child will battle Anderson Silva later this month on Showtime pay-per-view. It will be Paul's first bout since his stunning knockout of Tyron Woodley in December. Because the two have previously feuded on social media, the YouTuber turned boxer is concerned Nate Diaz may fight him next. In an interview with MMA Junkie, Paul indicated he would be interested in the bout after his battle with the Spider. "I'd be surprised if he were a free agent," Paul says. "I feel Dana has a way of tying these folks down, as the contract suggests. That's how I feel. I'm unsure if it's correct, but sure, I believe it will be a terrific fight if he truly becomes a free agent. That would be amazing. I'm not disregarding Anderson Silva, but Nate Diaz and I go way back. He's a huge name," he continued. "He went out with a bang, and everyone thought, oh, you're going up against these former MMA fighters. I'm not. Nate Diaz triumphed against Anderson, becoming one of the world's most deadly men. So why not challenge a current UFC fighter? What follows? That is why I find the fight interesting. We'll see if I can get past Anderson and Nate Diaz out of his contract." Moving on, Paddy Pimblett says Jake Paul will receive a rude awakening against GOAT Anderson Silva. UFC lightweight Paddy Pimblett feels Anderson Silva is one of the best strikers in MMA history and believes Jake Paul will be in for a rude awakening on October 29th. Pimblett believes Paul will struggle to go 3 rounds with Silva in Glendale's Gila River Arena last month. Paul, who is presently 5-0 as a professional boxer, will learn what it's like to face a true striker, according to Pimblett. "Silva is one of the finest strikers in MMA history," claimed Ortiz, who was knocked out by Silva last September. "He's about to face Jake Paul in the ring. I don't think Jake Paul will make it through 3 rounds. That is my viewpoint. I know Jake Paul works hard." According to Pimblett, the battle would be an unpleasant awakening for Paul. "As you say, he's one of the GOATs without a doubt," he remarked. "I agree with you on the forecast. Jake Paul isn't going to get out of 3. There's no way. Paul's going to realize what it's like battling a true striker, and he's going to be bingoed," Pimblett continued. Silva, 47, is regarded as an MMA icon, having held the UFC middleweight belt for more than 2,457 days between 2006 and 2013, and many believe him to be the best striker to ever compete in the UFC. He was released from the team after his contract expired in 2020, but the 47-year-old has since gone on to box successfully and is now set to face YouTuber-turned-boxer Paul in the ring on October 29th. Following that, Conor McGregor makes fun of Makhachev and Volkanovski. After winning the belt, Islam Makhachev faced off against featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, who was in Abu Dhabi to act as a backup for the UFC 280 main event, and is likely to be the new champ's first defense. This kind of champ-champ attempt is reminiscent of Conor McGregor, who notably won both the featherweight and lightweight championships to become the first UFC champion to hold both crowns simultaneously. With word that this fight between Makhachev and Volkanovski will take place, it stands to reason that McGregor would have something to say about it. Sure enough, he took to Twitter to mock both champions, claiming they hold his championships and questioning the amount of excitement this bout would generate among fans. "I have 2 old belts on 2 little ticks. This fight does 10 buys." McGregor captioned a photo of Makhachev and Volkanovski. Conor McGregor has stated that he believes he has evolved a new fighting technique that is ideal for defeating someone in the style of Islam Makhachev. Perhaps he intends to use this strategy on Alexander Volkanovski to reclaim his champ title. Next up, Oliveira reveals what Khabib said following the fight. No love was lost between Makhachev's and Oliveira's teams in the build-up to the UFC 280 lightweight championship bout. Makhachev's coach, lightweight GOAT Khabib Nurmagomedov, often barked at the Brazilian, speculating that he wouldn't even show up for the fight. But following his post-fight discussion with Khabib, Oliveira stated during the UFC 280 news conference that his feud with Team Makhachev is now water under the bridge. "This is a sport where we know what it's all about, and we have to promote fights," Oliveira said. "And that's what we did. That is what we did. And we understand what we need to do to market them. He approached me and said that everything was only to promote the fight and that he respected me. Oliveira defended his lightweight championship once before losing it and paid respect to Khabib and his journey to becoming one of the best fighters of all time. And I mean, he's a fantastic champion, Oliveira remarked. He has had an incredible career in sports, and now he has a great champion on his side. And all he said was that he respected me and that it was all part of the game, and that's all it is. Of course, Oliveira is one of the best in the lightweight class, and we'll almost certainly see him contend for the championship again shortly. Makhachev's strategy is to defend his lightweight title against pound-for-pound champ Alexander Volkanovski. Moving on, Marlon Moraes believes Jose Aldo has a chance in boxing. During an exclusive conversation with MMA News, Moraes shared his insights on Aldo's potential performance in the boxing ring. MMA News was granted access to the interview. Moraes shared his opinion, saying, "I think he might do well. He's a tough person, and in my opinion, boxing would be gentler on his body than other forms of fighting. Martial arts, MMA, incorporates wrestling, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu. In boxing, the upper body is the only part used. You still run on the track, but it's less taxing on your body. He was one of the greatest fighters of all time, and that guy can do whatever he wants." Since 2017, Aldo has been dropping hints about a possible transition to the sport of boxing. It does not appear that he has ever competed in a boxing match at the professional level. Moraes is planning to come back in the 2022 PFL Championships the following month, when he competes against Shane Burgos. He decided against retiring with the anticipation of contending for a PFL Championship the next season. Aldo may follow in the footsteps of Vitor Belfort and Anderson Silva by successfully transitioning from the world of MMA to that of boxing. If he does so, he will join an exclusive company. If Moraes' statements are any indication, he has the potential to establish himself as a household name in the upcoming phase of his career in combat sports. Following that, Dana White explains his position on UFC fighters betting. During his UFC 280 post-fight news conference, White discussed the ban on UFC competitors betting on themselves and fighting in general. "Yeah, well, gambling is popping up in every state, and the folks who control gambling don't think fighters should be betting on themselves. And I concur," White replied. White did not discuss how the UFC plans to enforce the regulation and ensure competitors are not in breach. DraftKings.com, one of the leaders in modern sports betting, is the company's official betting partner. It's unclear whether fighters have been permitted to compensate for their relationship. However, this policy amendment has likely been removed. Another point of contention is the fighter-coach-produced gambling podcasts. It's unclear if someone like Glory MMA head coach James Krause will still be able to provide betting advice on UFC events. This would also prohibit management from betting on athletes they represent, ending circumstances like Holly Holmes' management getting a six-figure bonus for betting on her to upset Ronda Rousey. White has accepted sports betting in MMA, but fighters and their teams will not be able to profit from it in the future. Finally, Volkanovski's wish is fulfilled following backup role. The matchup was what Volkanovski had been looking for after traveling to Abu Dhabi to serve as the backup fighter for the UFC 280 main event. The featherweight champion is now on a 22-fight winning run and has successfully defended his featherweight title 4 times. If the fight with Makhachev goes forward as planned, Volkanovski will meet the lightweight champion in his home country of Australia at UFC 284 in February next year. Well, that marks the end of our video for today. We hope you enjoyed it. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.